Ladies and gentlemen, the UFC is taking the week off, but we are not. We're already locked in for UFC Kansas City, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after that. It is one of the few weekends throughout the year where we don't have a UFC card. We do have a PFL card, which is actually pretty decent this Friday. I'll have some bets on that. I probably won't have any videos on it, but it's actually a decent card. But we're going to go through. I'm going to give you my early picks for every single fight on the card. Why not? What else are we going to do this week? We got to talk about the next UFC card. And this Kansas City card is actually looking pretty good. Pretty solid for a fight night. It's not at the Apex. Solid main event. Prates was supposed to fight last weekend at UFC 314. That fight fell off. And this is a much better, or much tougher matchup, I should say, for Carlos Prates. I think he's sitting as the underdog right now. We'll talk about that one later. But before we get into the video, I wanted to throw something out there for the diehards, I guess I should say, of the channel. Throw something out there. I want to see if you guys really enjoy having the early picks video and the official picks video, or should I just narrow it down to one video? Maybe post it on Monday or Tuesday and maybe up the production quality. So let me know down in the comments if you really do enjoy the early picks video and the official picks video, or if you would just want one video a week, which is better quality. Maybe have some examples throughout the video of stuff that I'm talking about, something that I'm seeing. Maybe just up the quality a little bit. So in order to do that, I'd have to only put out one video or one pick video per week. Because right now I do two. And then I also do my bets show, which probably not going to get rid of. Maybe switch up the production of that a little bit. But something I've had in mind, and maybe with the week off, can get something wrong with that. So let me know what you think down in the comments. But let's get back to the video. We got early picks to go through. But as always, on the early picks video, we have to recap how we did at UFC 314, which we absolutely smacked. I'm going to toot my horn a little bit, okay? Right here, the plus 1.09 units on UFC 314, straight bets and parlays. There was no parlays, so money lines, props, and rounds. It's not going to jump off the board, but we did hit 3 of our 4 money line bets. We had a nice prop on Aliskerov round 1 KO. Plus money on the under 1.5 Reyes Krylov. That was like my first bet of the week. And then overall, we're positive 1.09 units on the straight bets and the props. But the DFS boys, swept the board. Swept the board. Plus 8 units on DFS. Cash it, cash it, cash it, cash it. And you know what that means? If we swept the board, that means every single one of our slips hit. Not just the 2-pick entries, but the 5-pick entry, the 8-pick entry, 100x payout given to you guys. We've hit a 100x before. We hit one in November. Remember, if we hit one per year, there's 43 cards in a year. One per year is almost, 47x in profit? Come on now, boys. Who's out here doing that? 20x payout right there. We hit the 5-pick entry a couple weeks ago, so that's 2 5-pick entries we've hit in 2025 so far. We're only through April. Absolutely killed it on that. Congrats if you tailed. We made a ton of money last week on UFC 314. And so the overall profit on UFC 314 for the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership, positive 9.09 units. That doesn't include these 2 slips right here, because I don't include those because, like I said, you're not going to hit them in a very high clip, but they are massive payouts. So I don't include them in the premium section of the overall results because it's a little bit misleading. You know, I could say I'm up 100-some units off of this one slip, but is that really going to translate to somebody that joins? And then over the long term of, throughout the year, you're probably only going to hit 1 or 2 100x slips in the year. That's why I don't count it. Just like to be more transparent that way, because otherwise I'd be putting out saying I made 100-some units on one card. Just not very realistic. So I don't include the big slips, but I do include these slips right here because those are more consistently hit. We absolutely killed it on that. So it's positive 9.09 units in net profit on UFC 314, which upped our total to positive 39.96 units in 2025. Nearly 40 units so far in the year. If you want those bets, jump in the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership on Winnable. Use code HeyJive. You'll get a 5-day free trial. We got PFL this week, so you'll be able to get that. And then we got UFC Kansas City card the following week, which we are going to talk about now. So before we do that, we're also on a 6-week win streak. So it's a good time. We've been absolutely hot 6 weeks in a row, profitable. And 3 of those 6 weeks were 8-unit profit weeks or higher. So we've been absolutely killing it. Link down in the description below to join the Homo Fight Picks winnable. Code HeyJob gets you a 5-day free trial. Let's get into the card. I'm a little bit out of breath because I just ate like 30 minutes ago, and I ate way too much. So I feel a little bit stuffed. So if I'm like out of breath, that's not a good sign. Blackshear taking on Alatangheili. Blackshear should be able to get this one done. Okay, Alatangheili, not the best fighter, but he's a capable fighter. Like, could he make Blackshear pay for his mistakes? Sure. But Alatangheili's ceiling in the UFC, not high. This guy's overall skill set, he's good at everything, but he's not really great at one thing. Decent wrestler, decent hands, but he's very hittable on the feet. He's not very big for the division. He's 5'5", very short reach. Like, his boxing's okay, but he's very susceptible to kicks from the outside, and his entries can be a little bit telegraphed because he's usually fighting at range, and he's got to be able to close that range before he shoots. Otherwise, guys are just going to stuff his takedowns. So I think this one's pretty clear for Blackshear. I think Blackshear can kick away at range, keep him at range, be effective there. And if Alatangheili wants to wrestle with Blackshear is going to be the better grappler, and Blackshear could probably get offensive takedowns on Alatangheili. So unless we see some massive skill boost in Alatangheili, I think Blackshear has this one. He's going to be my early pick. I think this one's pretty straightforward. I know I didn't really like what Blackshear had to put out there against Cody Gibson in the first round. He looked like he was walking through it, like he was going through the motions, and he nearly got KO'd. I don't know what was going on with that guy, but he got it done in round 2 submission. So I think he could probably come in here and get another submission. I'll take Blackshear for the early pick. And let's move on. Chris Gutierrez taking on Zhang Castaneda. We've broken this fight down how many times? Like, good Lord. I am kind of just over this fight. The way I look at it, Zhang Castaneda has got to get takedowns to win this fight. Or at least close the distance to win this fight. You're not going to win a distance striking battle with Chris Gutierrez at this level. Like, at this level, Chris Gutierrez is just going to kick away at range. He's going to move, skirt around the cage, and he's going to win a decision doing that if you can't close the distance. Zhang Castaneda, at times, struggles closing the distance. He's also a guy that kind of likes to use his footwork from the outside, kick away at you, then once you're in range, unleash boxing combinations or look for takedowns. If Castaneda comes into this fight with that game plan, the normal game plan of Zhang Castaneda, he's probably going to struggle because Gutierrez, even in the bigger cage now, because it was supposed to be at the Apex, I believe, the second time around. One of them was on a pay-per-view. I think they rebooked it for the Apex one time. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but this is like the cursed matchup. I'm going to pick Gutierrez right now. This is one that I don't want investment in, honestly. I'm done with the fight. It's been booked and rebooked. But overall, I think Gutierrez can win this by being more effective at range. Zhang Castaneda needs to get takedowns. He can get the takedowns because Gutierrez grappling and wrestling or takedown defense isn't that great. So there's definitely a possibility for Castaneda. But honestly, I'm just going to pick Chris Gutierrez right now. Not one that I really care about. It's a pick 'em. I think that's pretty fair. I don't really see any value on either side. I'll take Gutierrez for the pick, though. Timmy Cuamba and Roberto Romero. I like this guy, Roberto Romero. I think this guy came into the UFC under some pretty tough circumstances. Short notice, up a weight class at 155 against David Onama, who's also on this card, and a very good fighter. Damn near knocked him out in round 1, and then lost the last 2. Also damn near got knocked out at the end of round 1 as well. It was a very competitive fight. He comes out, he's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. He really jittery. He pumps a nice jab. Got some nice knees up the middle. Ultimately kind of wants to grind on you and out cardio you, out physical you. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's like a Marab style, but like you can tell there are some skills lacking, but he just overcompensates that with a lot of energy, a lot of activity, and being fairly durable. That's his game plan. If he comes in here with that game plan against Timmy Cuamba, I think he could win. But we also have to remember, Romero, he's 8-4-1, and 3 of those losses were on the regional scene, which aren't really against the best guys. Like, I don't think this guy has great skills. Let's just say that. I don't think Romero has a great skill set. Just got a lot of energy. I think Timmy Cuamba is probably the more skilled fighter. But Timmy Cuamba, I hate Timmy Kwamba's game, dude. Like, it's so... You could tell the skills are there, but he just kind of fights very passive. And he needs to change that. If he doesn't change that, he's going to get cut from the UFC and he's never going to be anything. This guy needs to come out with some urgency, some aggression, the ability to walk into the fire and not be cautious. Like, he's got to go in there and make Romero respect him early. If he does that, he could win this fight because I think he's the more skilled fighter. But when I look at the two guys in a cage fight, I think Roberto Romero probably wins it based on cardio, activity, will to win, just moving forward. I think he wins it. So I'm going to take Roberto Romero for the early pick right now. I got to watch some more film on Timmy Cuamba, maybe look at some interviews, because the guy has a good skill set. He goes out there and it's like he freezes up. And most of those fights are at the apex. I think all of them are at the apex. Now he's in front of a live crowd. Is he going to freeze up even more? Like, come on. You know, Timmy Cuamba, skilled guy, got some potential, but he just doesn't really put it out there. He's still 26, but Roberto Romero shows up to fight. Doesn't matter the circumstances. He's 25. Maybe just a little bit different of a upbringing. Maybe, just put it out there. But Roberto Romero is going to be the early pick right now. I just think he gets it done with will to win, honestly. Ahmad Hassanzada taking on Elvin Elder. This Hassanzada guy is pretty bad. Okay, he's pretty bad, but he can make you pay if you make a mistake. Let's just say that. This guy on the Contender Series, the first time he lost to Nazim Sajikov, which ages pretty well, that loss does. And then he got submitted on the regional scene with like a knee bar or something, like just some really low-level stuff. Beats some absolute bums, gets back to the Dana White Contender Series. He's fighting this guy named Dylan Mantello. Both of these guys have been on the Dana White Contender Series before. They both lost. Dylan Mantello is like a punching bag. He is there to be hit. He doesn't have many skills. And he's beating Ahmad Hassanzada until in round 3 when he gives up his back and gets choked out. So Hassanzada, I think, is a punching bag on the feet. He has terrible striking. He has terrible wrestling. But he does have the ability to fight through some damage that you throw at him and pull off a submission. I think in this fight, Evan Elder is just going to be too sharp for him. I think he's the way better striker. I think he's got offensive wrestling to take down Hassanzada. I think he's going to be safe on the ground with the submission attacks from Hassanzada. And overall, I think Evan Elder is just a way better fighter. So I'm going to take Evan Elder for this one. Evan Elder, really solid fighter, was actually beating Nazim Sajikov until he got cut in the eye, like near up here. And they had to stop the fight. I think he was up 2 rounds to nothing. And he got TKO'd by Dr. Stoppage in round 3. I think the guy's got a lot of potential. And I think he's way better than Hassanzada right now. So I'm going to take him for the early pick. I'll do my due diligence and watch this one a little bit more. But right now, I think Evan Elder is a pretty safe play. Another UFC debuter who I just don't really think is all that great. Like, maybe he could pull off some fluke sub, but I think Evan Elder's got this one. I'll take it for the early pick. Moving on to this one where it's just an absolute meme that this fight is even happening. Both of these guys have retired. So Matt Schnell retired at the Apex, his last fight against Cody Durden, which he took Cody Durden on short notice, I think it was. And he got choked out in round 2. The double tap, the infamous Matt Schnell double tap. Like, you know how somebody's putting a choke on you, you're trying to defend with one, and you'll tap with the other because you're about to go out? This dude, like, just doesn't even defend it. He's just like, all right, you got me in a choke. Double taps. Like, double hands. It's a bad look. He's done that before. He did it against Brandon Royval, too. So, Matt Schnell at this point in his career, 35, getting tapped to Cody Durden. Getting chinned by everybody. I like Matt Schnell. Like, I think he has some fun fights. But I think he just retired at the Apex. And he was like, wow, I just retired at the Apex. Like, that was shit. So I'm going to come back for one more. And then the UFC is like, okay, who do we give Matt Schnell in his retirement fight that he could maybe beat? Well, they're like, okay, we got Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick. Actually, Jimmy Flick might pull his shit out, dude. Jimmy Flick has some real nice submissions. Some actually I don't want to say it's good because it's decent offensive wrestling. Like last fight against Nate Maness. Nate Maness has some really rock solid takedown defense. So obviously that's a tough matchup for him. But Jimmy Flick gets on top. Matt Schnell's going to be in trouble. We might see another double tap. But on the feet, Jimmy Flick going to be a worse striker than Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell's got really solid boxing. Has some pop in his hands, too. Like, I think Matt Schnell is the way better fighter skill for skill. But Jimmy Flick, the one way he's going to win is if he gets on top of Matt Schnell and is able to lock something up. Even if he just pulls guard and Matt Schnell's willing to engage. Like, Jimmy Flick could submit him from his back. So, right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Jimmy Flick just because he's a plus 225 dog. He's not the guy that just retired. Jimmy Flick has retired before, but then he came back. So it's kind of crazy, though. Jimmy Flick's still in the UFC, but Nate Maness is not in the UFC, the guy that just beat him. I don't know what the hell that's all about. I'm going to take Jimmy Flick right now. All right? The Flick man. The brick. The brick Flick's going to be the early pick. You like that? There's some, I don't know what it's called. It's not alliteration. It's, whatever. Jimmy Flick's the early pick. Let's move on. Chelsea Chandler, Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards, low-key. Low-key underrated. Now, she does look a little manly, but low-key underrated in the backside, if you know what I mean, boys. All right? But she's also a little bit low-key underrated in her skill set. I think Jocelyn Edwards has a really solid skill set. I'm not talking about the backside. She does, okay? She's a solid striker from the outside, solid kicks, solid hands. Her grappling is improving. Her offensive wrestling is improving. It's just the takedown defense at times can let her down. She can lose some scrambles because she's not the best grappler, but she's improving. If you get into a exchange with a better grappler, she usually loses it. But her last time out, absolutely mollywopped Tamiris Vidal and got the rear naked choke in round 3. So Jocelyn Edwards, I think, is a decent fighter. Chelsea Chandler, on the other hand, not the greatest fighter, probably not a good fighter, but she is big for the weight class. And when I say big, I mean like thick. Like Jocelyn's a little bit more long, lengthy, a lot in the backside. Chelsea Chandler's more like more thick that way. And I think that could pose some difficulties for Jocelyn Edwards, because if Chelsea Chandler gets Jocelyn Edwards on her back, then Chelsea Chandler could probably go to work. She's a Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I don't want to say her belt, but she trains at Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Stockton girl. Big fan of Nate Diaz. And I don't really see how she wins this fight outside of getting on top. At range, Chelsea Chandler, terrible striker. She's a girl that gets hit all the time. She's just going to go in there. She literally fights like Nate Diaz. Southpaw, she just kind of wants to jab, 1, 2, jab, 2, jab, 2. That's all it is. It's very simple, and everybody can find their way around it. Jocelyn Edwards, on the other hand, I think she should be able to poke away at her at range and win the fight doing that. Maybe taking Chandler to the ground. I don't think Chandler's good off her back. I think she can win this fight. I'll take Jocelyn Edwards to win this one. I just think she's got a lot more potential. I think her overall skill set is solid as well. Let's move on. Cameron Saaiman taking on Malcolm Wellmaker. I'm very excited to see Malcolm Wellmaker in this one because watching him on the Contender Series, there was a few guys that had some really nice knockouts, but Wellmaker was a guy that put him away with like a really nice counter strike. And it was a decent opponent, honestly. I didn't think the guy that he fought was that bad. It wasn't really a fight that I thought was like a setup for this guy. It was a competitive looking fight, and Wellmaker just landed a beautiful shot. Also mentioned this on the live stream, I think. But this guy, Malcolm Wellmaker, is still has like a regular job. Like I think he works from like 6 a.m. to 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and then he goes and trains 4 days out of the week, 4 or 5 days out of the week. And then the days that he has off, he does 2-a-days. So this guy's got a full-time job. He said in his post he wants a $50K bonus so that he can quit his job and become a full-time fighter. That's some motivation for you right there. But this is the year of the undefeated prospects losing their O. And I think he's got a tough fight. A tough fight because Cameron Saaiman is legit. Like he is a legit prospect with some real skills. He's just faced like two really solid guys. Lost to Christian Rodriguez, who can beat a lot of guys out there. Like if you lose to Christian Rodriguez, it's not the end of the road. Like you're still going to be solid. Look at Raul Rosas Jr. He's on a roll. Look at Isaac Dolgarian. Bounced back beautifully. First round knockout or second round knockout. Cameron Saaiman, the last one though. The last one. That's a beating that could maybe change your career against Peyton Talbot. He got big brothered by Peyton Talbot. Absolutely big brothered and ultimately outskilled as well. Like it wasn't like a big brothering of I'm just more physical than you. It was I'm going to piece you up, hit you way harder than you're hitting me because my shots are going to impact you a lot more and I'm going to time them better and you're flying all over the place. The knee he hit Cameron Saaiman with, nasty. The left hook that he hit Cameron Saaiman with, nasty. Everything he hit Cameron Saaiman with was nasty. And you never know how a young guy like that is going to bounce back after a beating. Like it was a beating, but it was close to a year ago. If not, it was a year ago. It was early on in 2024. So he's had some time off. He'll recover, but the South Africans, I believe, are kind of built different. My boy DDP up there in the background, I think they're built a little bit different. So I don't expect him to come in here and look completely different. But if it starts to go bad, then you never know. And I think Malcolm Wellmaker is probably going to be able to, I don't want to say like compete, but I think he's going to be able to get a little bit better to get the better of Cameron Saaiman, like in a lot of these exchanges, just being a little bit faster, a little bit sharper with his striking, and maybe just landing really nice counter shots. Because Cameron Saaiman, he doesn't really hit that hard, but he is willing to walk through the fire, and he's going to throw a lot of volume. So I kind of see this one going as Cameron Saaiman throwing volume, winning majority of the fight, getting hit with some big shots, and if neither guy goes down, it's going to go to a competitive decision to where it's in the hands of the judges. What do they favor? The guy that's working throughout the fight, landing a lot of significant strikes, or the guy in Wellmaker that's landing the ones that are a little bit bigger? Kind of just depends on the reactions that Cameron Saaiman gives off when he gets hit. But then there's also the aspect of the grappling. I think Cameron Saaiman's probably a better grappler than Malcolm Wellmaker, so there's probably some upside for Saaiman to get a win that way, but I also don't think it's that great. You know, the way that Cameron Saaiman was shooting on Peyton Talbot was kind of just getting right back up, kind of just shucking off his takedowns, and we just saw Peyton Talbot get absolutely destroyed by Ioannis Barcelos earlier this year. So that kind of shows the takedown defense that Peyton Talbot's at, where his ground game is at, and Cameron Saaiman couldn't expose that. So how much of a grappling upside is there for Cameron Saaiman? Probably not that much. Right now I'm going to lean with Malcolm Wellmaker. I do think he's a really solid talent. I think he's got a lot of motivation coming in here. Saaiman coming off back-to-back losses, a brutal beatdown. Not really sure what you're going to get from him. I'll take Wellmaker right now for the early pick. Let's move on. Jacqueline Amorim taking on Polyana Viana. I like Polyana Viana, but not for her fighting skills. Jacqueline Amorim, I like her as well, but also for her fighting skills. I think Amorim comes in here and absolutely wrecks Polyana Viana, okay? Polyana Viana is not a fighter anymore. She is an Instagram model that sometimes fights in the UFC. I don't know how much longer she's going to be in the UFC. I don't know why she's still in the UFC because she doesn't really have any good wins. And most of her losses, she gets absolutely dominated. So I guess maybe for the fact that, we can get a women's MMA finish every so often. And they're like, oh, look at this Brazilian girl. She's going in there and fighting another girl. And she's going to get finished. Pretty girl gets finished. I don't know. I think Viana is a decent striker with really poor takedown defense and not the best jiu-jitsu game. Like Jacqueline Amorim, jiu-jitsu, going to be a lot better. Her striking, I don't want to say it's going to be better, but like she doesn't even really need to use it. Like she could just get a single leg on Viana, drop her to the ground, and then she's going to be way better than Viana on the ground. She's going to be better on top. She has good ground and pound. She has great submissions. She goes for them as well. The only real question is the cardio for Amorim. Is the cardio going to hold up? Her only loss was to Sam Hughes, where her cardio absolutely failed her. But then she went into her next fight, put a beat down on the girl for 3 rounds, and finished her with like a couple minutes left. I think it just comes down to the resistance that Amorim has to deal with. And I don't really see a lot of resistance that she's going to have to deal with against Viana. So I think Jacqueline Amorim comes in here, gets the takedowns, ends up on top, lands ground and pound, probably finds another submission. I'll take Jacqueline Amorim to get it done. Viana might get her walking papers. All right, before we get into the main event, once again, I'll remind you, Homofied Picks Premium Membership, link down in the description. That's how you get every single one of my bets every single week. There's a PFL card on Friday. You can use code HeyJive and get you a 5-day free trial. Well, I will have bets on that one. It's actually a decent card. We've been cooking this year, 2025. I'm positive almost 40 units. I didn't update that. Sorry about that. Last year was up over 100. Right now we're on track for almost 200 units in profit in 2025. So hopefully we can hit that. Link down in the description below to get the bets. If you need a sports book, Wager Attack's available in all 50 states. You always got to have multiple sports books. Right now I'm in Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't have access to a FanDuel, a DraftKings. It's not legal here, okay? I can't use a DraftKings or a FanDuel here. Can't even use Hard Rock Bet, which I was using in Florida. So what I use multiple offshore sports books. One of my favorites is Wager Attack. You get a 200% free play bonus. So if you deposit $100, you get $200 in free play. If you deposit that $100 in crypto, you're going to get a 10% cash bonus on crypto deposits. So you get $110 or $10 added to your $100 that you deposited. Link down in the description below. It's available in all 50 states. They got tons of props. They got those exact submission methods. Crazy stuff. They got a lot of stuff out there. Link down in the description. If you need a sports book, Wager Attack has got you. All right, I'm almost out of breath. I ate way too much, boys. I got to start going on a diet or something. Here we go. Main card. Randy Brown taking on Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby is now 40 years old. But I don't really see a lot of regression from the guy. I really don't. Okay, last fight he had, Fakhretdinov. I think he beat Fakhretdinov, man. I think he did. It was a split decision. I think it was in Saudi or was in Abu Dhabi. I think it was in Saudi. I think he beat Fakhretdinov, man. This guy, Nicholas Dalby, just continues to impress me. The way that he's able to navigate stuff with not having a great skill set, it's just pure brute, pure cardio, and a lot of fight IQ as well. He was getting taken down here and there from Fakhretdinov. I think he got dropped in that first round against Fakhretdinov. He doesn't have the best chin, honestly, but he will always be moving forward. He's willing to clinch you up against the cage and just wear on you. And he's actually active. Like when he's clinching you up against the cage, he's pretty active. You know, throw some knees up there, throw some shots to the body. He just wants to outwork you. And it works against a lot of guys. Will it work against Randy Brown? Well, he's going to have to get a hold of him. And that's probably going to be pretty tough. Okay, because Randy Brown, great footwork, long, 6'3", uses his jab very well. And ultimately, I think Randy Brown probably wins. I think Randy Brown wins just being younger, being faster, and, you know, fighting his game plan. Like, his game plan is the same every time. Stay to the outside, use your jab, use your footwork, use your front kicks, stay off the ground, and outpoint the guy from the outside. And I think he probably does that to Nicholas Dalby. The question is, will Randy Brown's gas tank start to deplete earlier enough into the second round to where Nicholas Dalby can take over that round and then take over the third round? That's the biggest question to me, because Randy Brown's probably going to win the first. Nicholas Dalby's not the greatest fighter in the first round. Usually drops it. But then in round 2, can Nicholas Dalby close that distance? Can he close it enough in round 2 to win round 2? And then go into round 3 where it's 1-1, anybody's fight, and Nicholas Dalby's probably going to be the one that wins round 3. So this one's pretty clear to me. Randy Brown round 1, Nicholas Dalby round 3. How does round 2 go? I think Randy Brown's probably got enough. I think he's got enough gas in the tank to win round 2. So right now I'm going to take Randy Brown for the early pick, but I got to look at it more. I'm never going to doubt Nicholas Dalby because he just continues to impress me every single time that he fights. And I believe in his fight IQ, his cardio, and his game plans. Like, he's impressive, man. He is. I'll take Randy Brown for the early pick, but I got to look at it more and see how Randy Brown does in a lot of round 2s. Let's move on. Ikram Aliskerov taking on Andre Muniz. How does Ikram bounce back after the beatdown that he took from Robert Whittaker? Okay, he looked like a fish out of water there. He looked like he didn't belong anywhere near a ranked opponent. He got knocked out in round 1 against Robert Whittaker. Whittaker hadn't had a knockout since like 2017 or something like that. It was like 7 years without a Robert Whittaker knockout. And he does it to Ikram in the first round. And it was like the easiest setup that I've ever seen. Like, he picked him apart within a couple minutes. Ikram's supposed to be this Dagestani killer. And he got picked apart by Whittaker in round 1. Now, it was short notice. He did have to fly from Las Vegas to Saudi. So there are some implications you got to take into account there. But he's taking a step down here against Andre Muniz. But Andre Muniz is still a pretty solid guy. Like, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Nasty on the ground. Big dude for the weight class. I think he's got a chance to pull this one off, but he's got to get the fight to the ground. And is he gonna get takedowns on Aliskerov? Is he gonna submit Aliskerov? Probably not. The only 2 losses in Ikram's career are both when he got chinned. So is Andre Muniz gonna chin him? Probably not. Ikram Aliskerov is a huge favorite here. I think he wins just outstriking Andre Muniz. Muniz's wrestling isn't that great, but he does have the ability to hold on to you. Like, the way he won the Park fight was literally just spamming takedowns, holding this guy, dragging him to the ground. Wasn't doing much when he got it to the ground. And Park just gave up way too much time up against the cage. So I don't think Aliskerov does that. He's a bigger guy, solid wrestler as well. I'll take Aliskerov to get this one done. But, watch your minus 625 on the guy that just got chinned in the first against a guy in Andre Muniz who is a solid fighter, man. Like, he's not a bum. Not a bum whatsoever. Watch yourself. Let's move on. Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. Onama coming in here with some momentum. 3 wins in a row after taking a loss to Nate Landwehr. And they're impressive wins, man. Gabriel Santos, really solid fighter, knocked him out. Jonathan Pierce, solid fighter. He's a solid fighter, okay? No Jonathan Pierce slander here. He's a solid fighter. Got it done as an underdog again. And then a huge favorite the last time out against Roberto Romero, who we talked about earlier. And it was a close fight, 29-28. He got dropped early, but battles through it. The guy's cardio has looked amazing compared to what it was in the Nate Landwehr fight. Like, it's night and day. He's training at a solid camp. It's not Glory MMA Fitness. Tapology does not have that correct, because that is that still a camp? I don't think it is. I think they changed the name. But, he is one of the guys that was under James Krause. And James Krause, I believe, lost his ass on that Onama loss to Nate Landwehr. I've heard stories about it, but I believe James Krause had like a ton of money on Onama to beat Nate Landwehr. And Onama lost that fight. And that's why he needed to do the fight fixing with his guy, Derek Minner. So little side story there, but David Onama, really solid fighter, big for the weight class, strong, really solid striking, a solid jab, solid leg kicks. His offensive wrestling is solid as well, but he can get himself into some dangerous positions on the ground, but he finds a way to battle through them. Defensively, takedown defense, I don't think is the greatest, but he just kind of finds his ways to get out of it. But he can get taken down. It's not really going to happen here against Giga. Giga's not going to take him down. Giga's takedown defense, decent, but he is getting old. I don't think his style really works that well anymore. Like, just being a really solid kickboxer doesn't work well. And I know he had a really tough opponent his last time out against Arnold Allen, where Giga looked good in the first, but Arnold Allen just kept the pressure on. Giga slowed down. His footwork wasn't as good in rounds 2 and rounds 3. Arnold Allen just pretty much smoked him in the next 2 rounds. So he lost the fight. But he's 36. I think he has definitely lost a step. I think Onama comes in here and gets a dub. My only worry would be if Giga finds a finish in the first round, which I don't really see happening. I think Onama would battle through any kind of adversity that Giga could throw at him. But Giga has some really, really sharp kicks that Onama's going to have to watch out for. But if Onama wants to take that out of the equation, take him down. And I think that's a possibility for Onama to do that in this fight. So I'm going to take David Onama for the early pick. I think he's just got more ways to win. Younger, faster, stronger. Give me Onama. Let's move on. Michel Pereira taking on Abus Magomedov. I got a lot of questions about this in my Sunday service live stream. And I look at the fight and I'm like, Michel Pereira should absolutely win this fight. He should absolutely win this fight. But do I have tons of confidence in him doing so? Not really, because Michel Pereira, a bit inconsistent at times. Since he moved up to 185, he looked like a killer until he got mollywopped by Anthony Hernandez. Now, Abus not going to do what Anthony Hernandez did to Michel Pereira. Abus is probably going to strike with him, maybe try to mix in some wrestling, but is he the best wrestler? No. He's a solid wrestler, but at times his takedowns can be really telegraphed. His top pressure, you can get out of it. But the question becomes, like, does Michel Pereira finish him early? Or does Abus get a takedown early and wear on Michel Pereira, tire him out, and do what Anthony Hernandez did to him? Because Abus could do that. He's not going to be as successful doing that as Anthony Hernandez because they're different fighters. But it is a possibility. Okay, Michel Pereira, if he has a good gas tank, he wins this fight. Because Abus is not going to be able to ragdoll like Anthony Hernandez does, because Abus has gas tank issues as well. But on the feet, Michel Pereira, I think, is the more powerful striker. Abus is probably the more, I don't want to say this, more conventional kickboxer, really solid kickboxer, but he's a lot more conventional. So Michel's probably going to be able to land some big stuff early, and Abus is shown to be chinny in the past as well. So there is also that factor. This one is a wild card to me. I want to pick Michel Pereira right now because I think he should win, but do I have confidence in him doing so? No. I want to take Michel Pereira for the early pick. Let's move on. Anthony Smith, Ming Yang Zhang, co-main event. This is supposed to be Anthony Smith's retirement fight, I believe. He is a Nebraskan guy. So they're not going to go to Nebraska, so they got to go to Kansas City. Close enough. Either way, Anthony Smith, terrible fight his last time out, but there was a lot of stuff going on with him. I believe his main friend, main corner guy, had died during his camp, and it was his first fight ever, or at least in a very long time, that he didn't have that guy in his corner. And I can empathize with that because it's probably got to be some pretty tough stuff to go through. Like, you've done this, 58 times? Like, he's had 50 plus fights, done it with the same guy all those times, and then the first time he's not there. It's lots of stuff to go through. But even at 36, he's not really what he once was. What he once wasn't like some absolute killer, but he was definitely a guy that was worthy of a top 15 ranking. He could go out there and beat a lot of guys. Fought for the title. Should have been a UFC champion had he taken the Aljamain Sterling route. Very easily could have been. John Jones. Knee to the head. John Jones could have got his first loss. I guess his second DQ loss. Anthony Smith would have been a world champ. Okay, here we are. 36, 2025, Anthony Smith. Mingyang Zhang, on the other hand, on an absolute tear. Much younger, 10 years younger to be exact. Really solid striking. I think this guy's power is there. It is 100% there. But Anthony Smith isn't really a guy that's like gets hit clean with something and goes unconscious. He's a guy that takes the beating and sometimes just doesn't have it in him to like fight. I don't want to say fight back, but like it's the patented Anthony Smith where he's like on his knees, almost like covering up, but he moves enough to where the ref doesn't step in. If you watch an Anthony Smith fight, you know what I'm talking about. He doesn't get chinned, but he takes a beating, gets into that Anthony Smith pose down on the ground, and you're like, okay, Anthony Smith's done. The fight's over, Anthony Smith's done. But he did find a way to battle back against Ryan Spann after doing that. So you can't count him out. The Lionheart is still here. He's 36. He's fraud-checked many guys before. This could be the time. But he's going to retire, and I just can't take him. I'm going to take Mingyang Zhang for the early pick. I think he's probably just going to be too fast, too sharp, and he's not really going to care what Anthony Smith's throwing back at him. I can't blame him because Anthony Smith's not really out here hurting guys on the feet. I think the realistic possibility for Anthony Smith to win this fight is to get a takedown and use his jiu-jitsu. And I don't know that Mingyang Zhang's takedown defense is good or bad. We haven't really seen it at this level. I don't think his ground game is going to be on the same level as Anthony Smith, so I think that's Anthony Smith's best path to victory. I just don't really see him going for it. I don't really see him having the success that he probably would if he was 3 or 4 years younger. So I'll take it, Mingyang Zhang for the early pick, but honestly, at minus 530, I would not play it. I would not play it. I would not. It's a huge step up in competition for Zhang. And Anthony Smith, just when you thought he was done, he'll come out the bag and mess your parlay up. Mingyang Zhang's going to be the early pick, though. Brings us to the main event. This is a little bit long. I've been kind of yapping, but is what it is. Ian Machado Garry taking on Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates, fighting nerds. That's the breakdown. Okay, Carlos Prates is the pick. All right, let's actually get into it. Ian Machado Garry, 27, coming off the loss to Shavkat, gave him arguably his toughest fight. I think it is his toughest fight. So you got to respect what Ian Garry has done. Was 15-0. But took two rounds off of Shavkat, and ultimately the rounds that he lost, it wasn't even like he got dominated. It was more so Shavkat holding him up against the cage and Ian Garry just not really doing much, kind of just conceding the round in some sorts. It was a very weird fight. And a lot of times, Ian Garry can just make a fight weird. Like, he will be so disciplined in his approach. His approach is honestly just not make mistakes. Like, don't make mistakes. Don't beat yourself. And hope that your opponent makes the mistakes for you and capitalize. Ian, I think you got to take somewhat of that game plan, but also shift it a little bit. Because if you just stand back at range against Carlos Prates, Prates is going to be able to get into a groove and probably get downhill and build as the fight goes on. Because I think you got to give Prates a lot of adversity early on to kind of break him down. And the only way Ian Garry is going to be able to do that is with the grappling. Like, we're really banking on a guy in Ian Garry to come in here and grapple Carlos Prates, where Ian Garry is not a grappler. Like, he's improved his grappling a lot throughout the past 2 to 3 years to where he almost submitted Shavkat Rakhmonov, but it's not his normal game plan. So pretty much we got to be asking Ian Garry to come in here and do something that not his normal game plan. His normal game plan is, well, I kind of said his normal game plan is to not make mistakes and let his opponent make them for him. But his normal game plan is to be sharp from the outside, be fast, use your kicks at range, mix up your weapons with the knees and the hands, outpoint the guy, defend takedowns, and if you're better grappler than the other guy, go for some takedowns yourself. Could he use that game plan here? Sure. But I think the longer that he strikes with Carlos Prates, the more comfortable Carlos Prates is going to be. And when Carlos Prates is comfortable, he's a dangerous man. And we've pretty much only seen him comfortable in his last, 5 fights? All of his UFC career. So I think Carlos Prates is going to be comfortable, and I think Carlos Prates is going to win. But I don't doubt the Ian Garry game plan. Maybe Ian Garry is just running away from him the entire fight. Maybe he's just running away and then just pushes off the cage, like just literally jumps off the cage. When I say that, I mean like one leg push off on the cage, barrel dives into Carlos Prates' legs, football tackles him, takes his back and chokes him out. Because I don't think Ian Garry's going to be out here getting easy takedowns on Carlos Prates. I just don't. I think Carlos Prates' takedown defense is solid. He's tall. He's got super long legs. It's really tough to take down a guy with long legs, especially if you're shooting single legs, which is kind of something that Ian likes to do because they can just bounce on that foot. Now, obviously, you can get some trips in there and stuff, but I don't see Ian Garry blast doubling Carlos Prates. Just don't see it. So I'll take Carlos Prates for the early pick. I think he's the more dangerous guy. I think he can, compete with Ian Garry at range. Got great kicks himself. I think he can stuff the takedowns. Fighting nerds, that's it. I'll take Carlos Prates for the early pick. I appreciate you for watching a little bit longer than I usually do. But again, let me know down in the comments if you like the early picks videos and the official picks videos, or if you would just like me to combine it into one and make that video better than 2 videos. Please let me know down in the comments. Like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel. Till next time, hey Job Picks.